Well, hello my friends, it's nice to be here again. This is my second long form video, so I hope it's not as shit as the last one. And if you do think it's a pile of dog shit, please don't write it in the comments. One of the questions I get asked the most is, what the hell happened to your hair? And the answer to that is I went to a Turkish barber down the road and he absolutely butchered me. So now I have to try very hard to hide my receding hairline. Only joking, the question I get asked the most is, how do I become a professional guitarist? So if you all didn't know by watching my videos, and I'm holding a guitar in every video, I'm primarily a guitarist. And yeah, for the last 12 years or so, I've primarily been a musician with the largest part of my income coming from playing the guitar. For me, it is the dream job. Sometimes. If you think about it, it's not an easy job to come by, because it requires many different things to be able to do this job. Okay, well, you can ask yourself, how many people do you know that play an instrument? How many people are good at that instrument? How many people gig with that instrument? Now, how many people earn money from that instrument? How many people only earn money from that instrument? And as you can imagine, the list gets shorter and shorter every time, right? Like, realistically, it's a dream job for many people. Like, playing music full time is awesome. But it's the same with a lot of these jobs that require focused practice. You know, take a footballer, for example. I know 1,000 people that can play football. I know 0 professional football players. Because it takes a certain set of skills to be able to push your performance to that next level. And it takes a lot of focused practice. So today I'm going to address some of the things that you can do with your playing that will take it to the next level. And we're going to talk about some things that will work in a professional environment. Like, you could be able to shred like Yngwie Malmsteen. But if you get asked by a kindergarten to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and you can't read sheet music, close enough, but you're fucked and you're never getting asked back for another gig. So I've asked some of my friends who are prominent musicians in the industry, what are some of the things they think that will help a musician trying to become a professional musician. A lot of these things are specific to the guitar, but they can be adapted to other instruments. So the first bit of advice comes from myself, and the thing that I think is important is to buy decent, reliable gear. It doesn't have to be expensive, but it has to be able to do the job. Like, my first gig was on a cruise ship and I turned up with an old Kramer guitar with like a wonky Floyd Rose that wouldn't stay in tune, and I had a pedal board full of crap pedals and like crackling cables, and it made the gig a nightmare. A nightmare for me, a nightmare for the sound technicians, a nightmare in general. Like, every day I'm fighting with, you know, an out-of-tune guitar, fucked up intonation, broken cables, and noisy amplifiers, and it's just one more thing to get in the way from playing the guitar well, and what you're paid to do. So yeah, first of all, make sure your gear is fit for purpose. Buy something that's going to be practical for the gig. For example, your 400 quid Mexican Fender Strat is going to do a much better job than your 4,000 pound Kerry King like custom guitar model. Unless you're doing a Slayer tribute. So, the first thing, buy reliable, versatile gear. The next bit of advice comes from a good friend of mine called Jules Nelson. On my first contract, seeing him play everything from John Coltrane to the bloody Bullseye theme really opened my ears to the fact that I really need to fucking study more music. I've never seen anyone with such a wide repertoire of music in my life, so that's what I learned from him. So Jules's advice is, be able to use your guitar. Know what your guitar does. Know how to use the pickups, how to use the volume, how to use the tone. For example, if I select this pickup in the middle of here, put my volume here, my tone high here, maybe I can get a country sound. If I put the pickup selector in the neck position, I get a nice jazzy tone. If we can add a bit of distortion, use the bridge position, turn the tone up full, volume up full, and then you can get some rock sound. So, lesson 2 is learn how to use the pickups on your guitar. So, you have the right guitar, you know how to use it. So what comes next? Well, according to the piano, guitarist and bassist Steve Hodge, what comes next is an extensive knowledge of the basics of each style of music. Not a lot to ask, I know. But listen to what the guitar parts sound like in the different types of music and try to recreate them over different chord progressions. So you can take a guitar part from a song that you like and then you can apply it over different chord progressions. Say for example we have a chord progression of, I don't know, say C, G, A minor and F. Good old chord progression. Now you have to think, how can I make an interesting part in different styles? If we have a pop style, if we have a reggae style, how about a funk style? Personally, I like to roll off the volume a little bit for funk, just so I can hit the guitar hard and there'll be no volume spikes, you know? So if we play it in the rock style, it will sound like this. So if I was using a metal tone, I would have bridge 10, volume 10, and a bridge pickup. And again, if I was thinking of like Metallica, what makes Metallica's guitarist special? Well, what do they do? Okay, if I was to play this. Why doesn't that sound good? Well, James Hetfield uses downstrokes. Yeah, downstrokes only, more or less. And he accents quite a lot, so I would have to try and play in the style of James Hetfield, you know? Oh, that's tough. And there you are, you have some kind of Metallica guitar part. So it's just about being able to apply your knowledge of a style to any chord progression that you're given. That's the goal. So, lesson number 3, learn some basic guitar parts from each different style of music. So the next bit of advice comes from the great guitarist Mark Thompson. Mark Thompson travels all over the UK playing with many theatre shows, bands, works on cruise ships, and has been for a long time. So he's well versed in all styles of music. A great bit of advice he gives is to know as many chord voicings as you possibly can. If you know lots of different voicings on the guitar, you can create guitar parts which incorporate smooth voice leading. Voice leading is the practice of smoothly transitioning between one chord to the next without moving very far, using as little movement as possible. For instance, if we have our C, G, A minor, F chord, this would be not smooth voice leading. But voice leading would be this. Or this. Each note in the chord is like a voice, and each voice creates a melodic line which threads through the harmony. For instance, if we were playing this chord progression like a beginner, maybe we would play it down here, yeah? C, G, A minor, F. Okay, but what if there's another guitarist or a piano player playing these exact same notes? Are you just going to play them as well? Well, knowing different voicings on the guitar will allow you to create different parts. So if someone's down here bashing out these chords, then you can play something different, you know. And knowing these voicings will allow you to be able to do that. Chord voicings are also important depending on which style of music we're playing. For example, if we were playing funk music, you would never hear anyone playing an open chord. You would usually see them doing like a high voicing, like, you know. Same in reggae, you would never hear like a... Same goes for country. You would never see a country guitarist doing this. You would always see them playing the cowboy chords. If you think about jazz chord voicings, think about Freddie Green. This guy hardly moved when he changed chords. He would move as little as possible. If he was playing a blues, it would be like this. So you don't have to move far to be able to change the chord. So lesson number 4, learn the different voicings and chord shapes typical of a certain genre. One thing I learned from Mark, and it was something I never thought of before, I seen him reply to a Facebook job advertisement, and it said something like, lots of experience, great gear, blah blah blah, and balanced effects patches. And I was like, oh, bastard. And that last phrase really shocked me because I'd never thought of it before now. But now I realized it's so important. Like, if you balance your patches, it makes the job so much better for everyone else. So much better. There's no spikes in volume, and you don't have to worry about blowing everyone's ears off when you start soloing. So lesson 5, balance the volume of your effects. So the last thing that was mentioned by another phenomenal guitarist called Richard Bastock is to be professional. Learn the iconic solo from a song. Make sure your gear sounds good. Turn up on time and go the extra mile to make your part sound good. You know, you don't want to go overboard and start shredding in the middle of the verse of I will always love you. You know, the singer will hate you and you will never be asked back ever again. You know, just play the right stuff, and when it's time to shine, make sure you do. Make sure you get it right. Learn the solo to Sweet Child of Mine. Learn the riff of Walk This Way. And don't just go through the motions and read the chord chart. If you make a good impression, you get called back every single time. If you fuck up the intro to My Girl, you'll never work again in your life. So, lesson number 7, be professional. So thank you for sticking around till the end if you did. I hope you're going to go off now and learn Twinkle Twinkle Little Star just in case you get called up for that kindergarten gig. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any advice for us, let us know in the comments. You know, write in the comments what you think is important to be a professional musician. Anyway, I'll see you soon, and I'll see you in the next video, okay? Bye.